Now it's time to get real. I arranged for an interview with the voice actor of the GMan and Barney Calhoun, Mike Shapiro, on the release day of Half-Life Alyx, and it went off without a hitch. The following is an interview with Mike Shapiro, as I said, voice actor in every Half-Life game, acting for the GMan and Barney Calhoun and many other characters. Here we go.
How are you, Tyler?
I'm good. How are you, Mike?
I'm great. Pumped.
Yeah, I'm pumped too, man. I'm pumped. It's super cool to be able to speak with you. I'd like to because I don't have a whole lot of time, I would just like to let you know that, I mean, it's obvious. You play the most mysterious character in the entirety of video games, and it's really, really awesome to be able to see and hear you come back and really give it your all. I mean, even in your Twitter videos, you can tell that you're like really pumped about this, and I'm just so happy to see that everybody still cares and everybody's still here. You know what I mean?
I do. I mean, it's this is a character that I've been connected to and inhabiting for a long time, and like's a strange word to use, but I really enjoy being able to be inside G-Man and the world through his eyes is pretty cool. And I was just so excited when Valve got in touch with me and said, you know, let's get the band back together. Yeah. And it's been super cool working on it.
How long have you been working on this project?
You mean involved in the realm of Half-Life?
I know you've been there since like 1998 or whatever, but like for something Half-Life Alyx, do you remember like when you were called around? I
don't remember the exact time. We've been working on it we worked on it, and then we worked on it some more, and then we worked on it some more, and I think that's one of the things I admire about the process is that there's a kind of there's an experiential loop where the creative team has these ideas and they bring them to the fore, and we work on them together, and then there's some really satisfying kind of back and forth and interaction there, and then they'll take it away and see how it works, and I'm sure I'm assuming that what they're doing is trying it out on folks to see what their experience is. There's always been a really neat kind of cycle of collaboration between the voice actors and the artists and the designers, which is a big part of what makes. Obviously, I mean, you've been on this thing since yeah. since 1 p.m. or whenever you were. I don't know what coast you're on actually, but I'm assuming. Yeah, so you were on it at 1:00 o'clock today, yep. And I saw somebody's posted a picture of like what to do with your gloves while you're waiting, and the gloves were just like bouncing up and down, stomping, waiting for the clock to turn. So
it's amazing.
Anyway, yeah, no, it's folks, fans are really so primed for this, and for so many years we've been all waiting for it. I mean, I'm obviously I have a pretty neat perch inside the project, but I also am just a huge fan of it. I just admire. It's such a standout. I was going to say title, but it's really kind of an entire universe of story and craft and technology and really just thrilling stuff.
So, having worked with Half-Life for, a little over 20 years now, and being the voice of both Barney and the G-Man, we are not really seeing much of Barney, but you're seeing a lot of G-Man. As a person that's been embodying these characters for, over 2 decades, even with a break or whatever, what do you think, Barney, what, in your opinion, like if you were Barney, you are Barney, what do you think he's up to?
Well, I want to be clear that I'm not actually commenting on
I know. I'm
what
not,
role
yeah.
Barney has,
Yeah.
or which characters do or don't appear. I mean, G-Man appears. We know that because he was in the trailer for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't stand. I hate it when somebody tells me what's going to happen before I see the end. So I'm being very, very respectful of the players who haven't had it. You know, whoever's not on their speed run. You know, whoever's just like taking the time to savor it. And that's how I would experience it as well. So I'm not really going to say with regard to Barney or G-Man or any other characters. I mean, I at the beginning I played. God, I was like, I was G-Man and I was Barney in the first one, but I mean, I was also, you know, I think I was some Vortigans, and I mean, I think I was Nihilant at one point. I wouldn't be surprised if I was the voice of Crowbar, you know, at the very beginning. So I've played a lot of characters. They kind of narrowed that list later, but
you played Otis.
That was Otis,
the big guy that ate the donuts and the.
I might have. I swear, you know, the way it worked early on is we'd be, you know, and this was a little bit of sort of like the early, early gaming, because I was really fortunate to be part of the kind of golden age of gaming in Seattle, and then there was a lot of great work that was coming out of that. Nothing of the design or narrative. Fortitude of the Half-Life world, but there were some really neat projects coming out of, I don't know, Humongous and Headbone and Microsoft. They did a bunch of things with Microsoft. I had a crazy character I did with them called McZ, who was part of their creative suite, and that was like this blue-colored, I don't know, like Scottish crazy guy. And the way it would, I'm pretty sure I remember this, or I think we were at a studio that may not even exist anymore, called Pure Audio in Seattle. And probably Laidlaw and Gabe came over, and we would be in the studio, and they would say, okay, I knew I was G-Man, and I knew I was Barney, and then they were like, here's a picture of a character. I don't even know if they told me it was called a Vortigaunt or not, but they would say, what do you think he sounds like? And they would put me in front of a mic and say, give us what you think this character, how he would speak or how it would speak. And it was, you can imagine, I mean, it was so much fun, and there was so much creative interplay. And that was true. That was true. That was equally true. When we were recording for Half-Life Alyx, they would bring in terrific scripted material, and we would cover it exactly as scripted, and then if in the process of kind of recording it, an idea came up that they were always game to kind of try it or hear it a different way. Sometimes you land it, and then you say, hey, can I get one more shot at that? And this happens actually with G-Man a lot, because so much for me, so much of G-Man is the music, is the he has that kind of changed up tempo, and he takes so much pleasure in messing with whoever he's talking to, and so sometimes I would cover some lines, and in the course of having a chance to speak to those characters and to the events happening, I would say, can we get one more of those? Just give me one more pass at that. And I often record with my eyes closed, and then I'll kind of open them up at the end, and I look through the glass, and and they're like waving their hands in the air, and like just like having a great time. They're really good people to work with. I mean, the team. I worked with Pinkerton and Sean and Eric Wolpa. They brought out of retirement.
Yeah,
it was just like really good guys, and such an easy. That was one of the neat things about it. It was so easy to slip back into this character. It was really very satisfying.
It's very satisfying to be able to hear it again and to be able to see you have the freedom to be able to kind of experiment within that character. For the longest time, because of people like me, any mention of Half-Life would cause the internet to go absolutely berserk. But now it seems like there's more freedom, because like your New Year's message and that last thing you just did, like you wouldn't have been able to do that a couple years ago, but it's really cool to be able to see just more of that character and more of an experimentation within, whatever's going on in the mind. Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know what that is? That's my tribute. That's me as a fan more than anything else.
I mean, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I try to be very respectful of, and I hope everybody understands. I can't speak for Valve, and it's not my, I don't have the inside information, and obviously I have a commitment to not telling any sort of narrative lines or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But a lot of what I do is in addition, as an actor, I'm a filmmaker and a musician, and so I like to create different projects, and for me, I wanted to find a way to, as a fan, raise a glass to this character and to the return, sure. to there being a new title, a new episode, a new chapter. And this was just a way for me to kind of revel along with everybody else who was so excited about 2020. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I see that our time's starting to run out. I'm scrambling here, but it's very nice to be able to hear from you as a creator.
Thank you.
I noticed that your natural speaking voice sounds somewhat similar to Barney, but GMan is like completely out of left field. What kind of, I guess it's kind of second nature to you, but do you have any conscious decisions that you make when you voice GMan?
Absolutely. There's a lot of technical choosing that you do in although I it's a blend of conscious choices you make and sort of creative impulses to what you can discover. It's always informative to me to like if I'm creating a new character for an animated show or I've got some things coming up later this year that haven't dropped or even announced yet that I can't speak about, but the artwork is absolutely trippy, and it was a huge source of information, and that was true. I don't know. I played a comedic lounge singer, and I don't even think it was a human. I think it was some animal, like in Leisure Suit Larry or something like that. Like a title that was from a long time ago, and it would have been a very pixelated animated character. But for me, figuring out how the character speaks and what part of the world they're from and what's going on in their mind at any given moment has a lot to do with how they'll communicate with the other characters with the audience, and some of that is very technical, and some of it is, like I say, my eyes are closed and I'm just in a place, which is, that's one of the reasons it's such a pleasure to spend time inhabiting. This guy's nefarious. GMan is, and I also, I played. There was trying to think we did. This was actually a different title from Sierra. Valve. I think Sierra was just the distributor, but Sierra was in on Half-Life 1, right? Mm-hmm. And they had a different title called Torin's Passage, and Torin was a completely different sound and a kind of a young hero, And I'm working on a new podcast series that's very futuristic and it's something the ASMR kids are going to love because it's really inside your head. And that again is a completely different texture, a different, it's where it's contained inside the mouth and vocally, it's a kind of a real sensory experience, and you work with the director, you work with the writer to kind of land it, and then you go sailing,
So an ASMR podcast series, you seem to be a very busy creator, filmmaker, you're in a band.
Yeah, I mean the podcast isn't mine. I actually am
I'm
writing a podcast, but that's a different project. The podcast is just something I was cast in. The game that I mentioned, which is a pretty fun blast from the past. When folks find out about it, they're going to be thrilled. I think they knew my work, and they reached out to me, and it's just a very, very cool
you seem
endeavor.
Very excited about that one. You mentioned that on the Boundary Break video as well, and that kind of made some headlines. It did, yeah.
I think I did refer to that. I mean, that's something that hasn't dropped, hasn't even announced, and I'm certainly not at liberty to speak about it, but I can say that it will be a pretty fun. What am I going to say? I'm just going to keep saying blast from the past for now, because I want to be careful and respectful.
Sure.
About the my collaborators.
Definitely, yes. And lastly, I just want to say that G-Man, Barney, the Valve characters have had such an effect on myself and on the community that I represent.
That's awesome, man.
There's a guy that does a perfect impression of the G-Man himself. And I actually have a podcast where I have people call in and ask the G-Man questions. And it's really fun. And I wanted to ask your opinion of people trying to emulate or encapsulate the kind of work that you do, right? How do you react to something like that?
I mean, like I said to you, when I'm creating these these different postings that I'm doing, that I've sent out, like through my Twitter account, I am doing it as a tribute, because I love the character, and I've enjoyed the world of Half-Life for so long, and I really admire the creators behind it, and if people are connected to the character and are get excitement and satisfaction from trying to find, particularly when when it's been so many years, right? We've all been waiting so long for there to be another chance to kind of plug into this, and I'm just so pumped to be at it again.
Yeah, I'm glad you had the chance to be able to do that as well, and I hope we get to hear a lot more from you as time goes on. I hope the 20s are a very busy time. All right.
Thank you.
So how can people find you? Where would you like me to send the listeners to be able to follow up on what you're actively doing?
I mean, I'm on my my Twitter's Mike Shapiro Land, and that's certainly a good way to keep track of what's going on, and I'll be as I am allowed, I will certainly be sharing more news.
Good. We don't want you breaking any NDAs. Thank you very much for talking with us.
It's really great talking to you, Tyler. It really is. I'm so excited for you, and because I know you've got a great perspective on the whole world, the whole universe, and I appreciate your taking the time to talk, and the respect and enthusiasm with which you embrace this.
Hell yeah. I'd love to be able to talk with you again, maybe in a format where we don't have 15 minutes, but for now, I hope you have a great day. I hope you stay safe. I hope you're staying home.
You too, man. I hope everybody is taking care of themselves and their friends and family and each other, because this is a wonderful Half-Life coming out now, which obviously is a total coincidence, is a terrific way for people to stay connected and to pass the time without risking anything. But most important of all is for everybody to be thoughtful and patient, and we'll all get through this together, and we'll come out the other side stronger and more together for it.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you very much. I hope you have a good day.
Absolutely, man. You too, sir.
Talk to you later.